Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Frank DiMora, and I'd like to welcome you to the last Chronicles of Planet Earth. And before I get into some of the prophecy news that I normally cover, what I'd like to do is invite any of you who just came to my website by accident. Nothing really happens by accident. The Lord takes care of who He's sending to my website, that's for sure. But if you have found your way to my website here, I'd like to invite you to go and downlink my book, my documentary on Bible prophecy and current events. When you go to my website, if you're here at the YouTube, and you get to my website by going to www.bibleprophecyman.com, and once you get there, you'll see the front and the back cover of my book right at the top of my link. Well, right below that link, you'll find, or the covers, you'll find a link that says June 30th. This is my newest book, the latest edition of the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth that has all the latest information, current events, where I connect the dots between Bible prophecy and current events. So I'd like to invite you to download the book for free today. Now you can copy the book at your computer. You can come every day and read it. The book is always posted. It's absolutely free. And there isn't any strings attached, I can tell you that. And so I'm inviting you to just look at the information. If you have any preconceived ideas about Jesus Christ, that He is not the Messiah, you really need to read this documentary, because there's evidence, proof in this book that you need to read to understand that Jesus Christ is in fact who He said He was. And so if you like documents, and if you like proof, if you like to be sitting on a panel of a jury, this is the kind of book that you're going to need to read to show you without a doubt Christ is the Messiah. So I'm going to get into some prophecies today, and if you read Matthew chapter 24, Luke 21, or Mark chapter 13, you'll see a list of prophecies, of signs that Jesus told us to look for in the last days. And not only did He tell us to look for these signs, but He said that when you see all of these things, all of them happening at the same time, He gave us instructions to look up, because our redemption is drawing nigh. So now that we see all of these signs, this is the first time in history and that we've seen all of these signs at the same time. So as Christians, we should be looking up, because it's not too far off from the Lord's going to come. Now, for example, in Luke chapter 21, verse 11, you'll see 3 or 4 different signs that the Lord tells us. And He tells us that what I'm going to focus on right now is about earthquakes, famines, and pestilence. And if you go to my book, you're going to get so much information to prove this, that these prophecy is actually happening right now. But this I want to give to you. This is something that I just pulled up, some of the newest information. So what I'm going to do is show it to you right here, so you can see what I'm talking about. It says global agriculture supply keeps worsening. Now, if Jesus told us we're going to have famines in the last days, then we should be looking for those very things. And not only in those 3 chapters, but you're also going to read, when you read the book of Revelation, you're going to find out that all of those signs are magnified during the 7-year tribulation, which you do not want to be part of. And you can escape it by accepting Jesus Christ as your Savior. That's a promise from the Lord. So what I'm going to do is read. It says the global agriculture supply situation has worsened, and failure to boost food production fast enough to meet demand may lead to shortages, said investor Jim Rogers. He's the chairman of the Rogers Holdings. It says, we got to do something. We're going to have no food at any price at times in the next few years, Rogers said in the Bloomberg television interview at Rashid Shamet today in Singapore. I still own agriculture. If I find it, I buy it. So he's still investing in land, but he can see what's happening because the population is growing. We're losing the amount of food that we need to feed the entire world. Rogers joins the former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Bank in highlighting the need to boost global food production and address issues pushing higher or prices higher. Now I'm going to stop right there because not only are they talking about the agriculture, we don't have enough food and it's getting worse, but he's also mentioning here that it's driving up food prices. And if you've been to my site before, you understand what I'm going to quote. I'm going to quote Revelation chapter 6, verse 6, where Jesus shows us in that verse. It's during the time that the tribulation is going on. The people who are living in the tribulation period will be working all day long for one small meal. As a matter of fact, he outlines in that verse about wheat and barley, that they're going to get a quart, a small measure. And that's just for one person. It's not a whole family. So we see the food prices going up beyond measure, and they're going to keep going up. Now, that has to do with the food, the production, the increase of population, and famine, because when you find out that you're losing food, and as you're going to see, there's a lot of reasons why we're losing the food production. It's just not one or two items. There's a lot of things that are destroying the crops. So let me get right into it, because we're dealing with famines, and in that scripture it also talked about pestilence. Now we know pestilence, if you looked how Jesus, or in the Old Testament, how Moses was able to deliver the Jews, God sent pestilences on the land of Egypt. And we're seeing the same thing happening now, where pestilence, different forms of pestilence are killing off the crops. And that too can add to the reason why there's going to be famines. Now here's one from the Yahoo News. I'm going to put this up. You should be able to freeze the frame if you will. And if you wanted to Google that, you can Google it, or just go to my website and click the link there, because it'll be there for you. But it says the Asian megapest is chomping up U.S. orchards. And this article has to deal with a stink bug, and I reported on this stink bug, and it's at my website, in 2010, because this stink bug infiltrated Baltimore, and it was causing a lot of problems. Not only does it stink, but it eats the fruits, crops. And so I'm going to update here, because this article came out June 28th, and it's talking about the same bug, the stink bug, and this is what it has to say. The stink bug from Asia is chomping U.S. vegetable fields, orchards, and vineyards, causing experts to scramble through an aerial of weapons to try to halt the stealthy, smelly predator. It goes on to say the pesticides, parasite traps, and all have been tried, but none have been succeeded in killing off the brown marmorated stink bug. It says, after having tried just about everything, farmer Bob Black said that he sometimes resorts to his own weapon, his fist. And he goes on to say, I'm not going to give the whole article, but he gets so mad that he's pounding these things because nothing else will kill him. At least so far, they haven't found anything that will kill them off to stop the erosion of the crops. It says the way they feed with their hydronic needle mouth is they pierce down into the product, skin or tree, up to 3/8 of an inch, 1 centimeter, and suck the juices out of the fruit. So what happens is, when you have millions of these bugs and they invade the crops, they destroy the crops. And when they destroy crops, guess what happens? You don't have enough crops to go around. And when you don't have enough crops to go around, what happens? Food prices for those crops go up. Now, this is just one isolated case, but they're talking about this spreading through the United States. And you can do more research on your own, but this bug is making its way into, right now, there's, I believe that there's 33 states that this bug is playing havoc for the crops in the United States. Now, here's another one. When we talk about pestilence, there's many forms of pestilence. It could be coming from insects and whatnot, but there's also the pestilence which is referred to diseases, and we're told that in the last days that the diseases were going to be coming. And in my book I highlight as many diseases as I can show you, ones that are returning, ones that have are just now coming up that the doctors can't find cures for. So here's when it says the first death in Minnesota from the Pestilence virus. And this is a virus that's caused by ticks that's starting to spread. It came in from Canada and now it's made its way into the United States. And they're reporting on this one that the first death related to this virus was reported in Minnesota Wednesday, according to the release of the Minnesota Department of Health. And it goes on to say that the Palestine, or this Pestilence virus, was the first identified in 1958 in Pestilence, Ontario, so in Canada, and it's made its way down. So we're seeing this is really nothing compared to the diseases and the pestilence are showing up in all of the world. So you just need to get all this information. You can get it at one source, and that would be the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth. It says, now another thing that we want to talk about right now is what else kills off the crops. Well, in March of 2010, I also reported about the bee population declining, and the scientists can't figure out, and they still can't figure out here in 2011, what's killing off or what's declining the bee population. Now, here's one that I put up a long time ago, and let's see if I can straighten this out a little bit for you so you can see it. You might not be able to read it because it's pretty small, but I'll read the headline. It says, U.S. alarmed at huge decline in bee numbers. The UN on Thursday expressed alarm at the huge decline in the bee colonies under the multiple onslaught of pests and pollution, urging the international effort to save the pollens and the vital for food crops. And it's a pretty long article, but I'll give you the gist of it. The article says that without the population of the bees, if they keep decreasing and they can't populate or pollinate the crops, the crops won't develop and you won't be able to get any food. Now, I know this is going to continue, and we know where it's going to end up. It's going to end up reaching its max during the tribulation, because there's going to be all different kinds of reasons why crops are going to be destroyed. Earthquakes, floodings, bee population declining, all kinds of events. Tsunamis that send in water, that flood out, war. We see that, drought, heat, all of these things are mentioned, and they're going to be killing off the crops. So it's important to understand what's happening. Now, I'm going to get in my next segment here. I'm going to give you, this is a segment here that I didn't even put in my book, because there's just so much information, and it would cost me a fortune to make one book. So I'm going to try to put a folder for you so that you'll be able to have all this information about the pestilence that is going on around the world and what's happening with the pestilence killing off the crops. And since we're on the bee population, I'm going to start the next video with this article that talks about the bees, the free fall as a study shows sharp U.S. decline. So we'll pick that up in the video number 2 for today. So scroll down and you get the rest of the report. Thanks.